How could I have come to this? Bruised, broken, frozen to the bone. Like a glass replica of my former self, transparent and brittle, as if the weight of a snowflake would be sufficient to shatter me into 1,000 pieces. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time when I had the whole world at my fingertips. We had it all, my partner and I. We shared the talent that would make us rich. Our connection went back as far as we could remember. We'd played together all our lives. I can still remember my partner and I taking piano lessons at Mrs. Berghoff's. We were always cutting up. But playing the piano wasn't the only thing we did together. We went out with the same girls. We played sports together. We even had the same vices. Gradually, we began to get serious about working together. We nurtured and cultivated our talent. Not that talent was all it took to succeed where countless others had failed. We did our share of manual labor and endless day jobs. We nearly worked our fingers to the bone. But our nights we spent playing wherever we could get a gig or be asked to sit in. Together, we clawed our way to the top. We were destined to be friends for life, or so I once thought. As our career took off like a comet, we found that the trappings of fame and wealth fit us like a glove. But then, as we hit the pinnacle of our success, things slowly began to turn. I began to notice that my partner seemed to be getting a better shake than I. It certainly could not be my imagination that there existed a decided bias in his favor. Anyone could see that he was the one who wore the ring. Like with the telephone, he was the one with the simple job of dialing, while I had to hold up the receiver for the entire length of a conversation, sometimes for an hour or more. I realized that I never questioned what he was doing at the ATM. He could be embezzling every cent and I would have no idea. Come to think of it, why was he always the one signing the checks? Was I wrong, or did it seem that whenever we drove anywhere, I had to stay glued to the wheel, while he mingled with the company? Oh, he reminded me that he didn't always get his pick of the jobs either, like being paperboy at toilet time. But I couldn't see past what I held to be inherent injustices in our relative positions. I became more aware than ever that in every aspect of our life, my partner was getting the upper hand. What it came down to in my mind was that while I did half the work, he got almost all the credit. The last straw came during the biggest event of our lives. We were about to meet by invitation and command performance the leader of our country, the president himself. We would be making history. As we approached, I could see the president's greeting, powerful and sure, both partners equally involved. What was this? While my partner was enveloped by greatness, I flailed about, humiliated and unacknowledged. I could take no more of this. My jealousy led to resentment, and I began to rebel against our partnership. I started to spend more and more time by myself. Didn't even Jesus Christ say, "Let not the right hand know what the left hand is doing"? While I brooded, I came up with a plan that would set me free of his grasp forever. It would have to feel like any normal Monday morning. The festivity of a long weekend would work to my advantage. What I needed now was a perfectly planned accident. I volunteered to retrieve the spoon, of course. I was the fool who dropped it in there, wasn't I? I easily found the spoon, but that's not how it would seem. I couldn't find it, I whined. It must have dropped too far for me to reach. Just what I was looking forward to, he said in his early morning grogginess. Why the hell can't you be more careful? Little did he know how much easier his terse remark would make it for me to do what I knew I must. Just a little deeper and he would be nothing more than a memory. Suddenly, I was engulfed in doubt. What had I been thinking? Was I out of my mind? Because of my apprehension, the opportunity was lost. It's stinking gross in there, my partner ranted. You klutz! You never could do anything right! His final impudent comments fortified my conviction. This time, there would be no hesitation. I never never got fingered for the crime. It was seen just as I had intended it to be seen, as an accident. But why did everyone assume I'd be giving up the business? You never heard of a solo act, I told my agent? Just get me the bookings. I'll do the rest. As I expected, my popularity soared. I had my hands full with talk shows, guest appearances, interviews, and the like. I basked in the rays of a sympathetic public. But I also became acutely aware of how much I could not accomplish by myself. I used to complain about all the work I had to do. Now I had twice as much, and half of it felt foreign and unnatural. Worse than that, however, the guilt from what I'd done tore at me like an insatiable raven. I refused to let myself miss my partner or remember our good times. For a year or so after the accident, my concerts continued to sell out, and I was able to ignore my conscience. But try as I might, it was impossible for me alone to maintain the high quality of our previous work without my very able and now very absent partner. Soon my guilt and insecurity grew until the sympathy our fans had shown me turned to pity. By the time the topic of the accident had fizzled out in the press, so had my popularity. After my crashing fall from the limelight, what had been my passion became a chore. No, a torture. Whereas a pair, we once sold out huge concert halls. Alone, I couldn't fill a corner bar. Teaching was, of course, out of the question. I had no patience to teach. I had no tolerance for innocence. It got so bad that I was glad to get work playing for tips at any honky-tonk dive with a full set of ivory. Most nights I only made enough to pay for my drinks. Soon the booze was my only form of shelter. I was living in a hell, and what made it worse was knowing that it was a hell of my own making. I resolved to put myself out of my misery, to even the score as my partner would never be able. But even the sweet oblivion of death was out of my reach. I bawled like a baby. "Give me death," I cried. "I have sinned and I am ashamed. How can I be forgiven?" My confession played out its fugue in my consciousness as I prepared to meet my maker. If I could not kill myself with violence, then I would allow myself to waste away. It shouldn't take long. I was empty anyway. It was then that an angel of mercy descended upon me to set my soul free. I was taken to a place where those like myself had been gathered, a place that is a refuge to the weary of life, a place where the hungry are given food, the thirsty are given drink, and the ones who despair are comforted. I saw their pain and suffering and knew from whence my own suffering had come. Like a veil was lifted, the route to my salvation became clear. From this moment on, I would pledge to be a helping hand.